The Full Spectrum Podcast, presented by Champions and Legends. Champions and Legends produces hemp-derived CBD sports supplements for athletic preparation, performance, and recovery. Discover Champions and Legends on the World Wide Web at championsandlegends.com. This is the Full Spectrum Podcast with Big Data and Maverick, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey everybody, the Full Spectrum is back at you. Big Data, how's it going,
top
buddy?
of the world, my friend. This is just the greatest time of the year on the sports schedule.
It totally 100% is. But can I tell you a little secret? I might have been listening to our last week's podcast, not once, twice, maybe 3 or 4 times. Pat Vellner, CrossFit extraordinaire, last week on the podcast. What a great interview. And hey, maybe one of the classiest guys I've ever met in my life. What did you think of last week's
Pat
interview?
was just smart, well-spoken, a true ambassador for his sport, had some great about the sport, a little tip for us weekend warriors, and overall, just a great guy.
You know what? He's an absolute gem of a human being. And you know what? We said it once, we said it again. Those Canadians, great people, great representative. We wish them well. 2021 CrossFit Open, sponsored by Noble. We're super excited about it, and we wish you well, Pat. From there, let's go right into it, man. It's an action-packed week of sports. We'll get right into my favorite time of the year in the NFL. No, it's not the playoff time. It's not the beginning of the regular season. I said it once, I'll say it again. You're all about the data. I'm all about the drama. It's free agency time, franchise time. And franchise tags were set last week. That finished off. Free agency opened up, and man, what a whirlwind. Dak, right before the free agency market kind of opened up, they didn't franchise tag him. Dallas turned around. Jerry said, hey, I listened to the Full Spectrum. I don't like what the Maverick had to say about me trying to move him over to Seattle. I'm going to sign him up. $66 million signing bonus, $126 million in guaranteed money, making Dak one of the highest paid players in the NFL right now. Big Data, give it to me fast, give it to me hard. Do you like what Dallas did?
I don't think they really had a choice. Just the opportunity cost to go out and get another quarterback far outweighs just the cost of paying him. Now, $126 million guaranteed is a little shocking. I'm surprised he got that kind of a guarantee from Jerry. But in the end, I mean, for the next 3 or 4 seasons, regardless of what happens, he's your guy. And he's played really well, and why not pay the guy?
Listen, I like Dak. I do. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's great, and I definitely don't think he deserves that money. Dak, it's not personal. This is just business. At the end of the day, Jerry, I expected a little bit more from you. You know what happened, Jerry? You made too much money when Texas went into that little Frost situation. You forgot about the situation. You had a couple extra bucks, and you gave it to Dak. Respect. I'm never going to cut a guy down for getting money. Dak, you got your money. Congratulations. Wishing you well. But in all honesty, man, I really feel like they could have spread that money a little bit more around. That team is so close, Big Data. It's so close that I feel like you spread it a little bit on the defense, especially where they need it more. I feel like that team is not going to make the playoffs just because of this signing. Sorry, I said it. Yeah, I did it. From there, we go to the guy that, he had to watch his let's say this, his ex-partner do well without him. Who am I talking about? You know who I'm talking about. It's Billy Ball. It's Billy Belichick. He watches Tom go, hey, I don't need you. I'm the player. Everyone talks about your system. I'm going to roll out. I'm going to go to Tampa Bay. And what does he do? We know what he did. He goes down there and he wins his seventh Super Bowl without Billy. So like a lot of us, Billy did exactly what anybody would do during a breakup or a divorce. He goes out and spends tons of money. Billy said, oh, you want to play that? Billy went on the full attack. He ends up this week picking up Jonnu Smith. He ends up picking a little Hunter Henry. He ends up picking up Nelson Aguilar. Jalen Mills, Matt Judon, and Cam Newton. He re-signs Cam Newton as a 1-year, $14 million contract. Billy's a little upset, and I think he might be a little overspending. Big data. Did Billy do the right thing by
When
going out and
everybody
getting all these
else
guys?
zigs, he zags. Belichick, for the first time in forever, spending big money at the start of free agency. You know what, though? I love it. The double tight end set. Hunter, Henry, Jonnu Smith.
Yes.
That is where he should spend the money. That's when the Patriots are the best. The rest of it is fine. Not too bothered about it either way, but going back to the legit two tight end system, I think could take them back to the promised land.
I gotta 100% agree. Look, at the end of the day, yeah, Tom last year looked phenomenal. Tom this year even took a pay cut to make sure that his team is basically set. Respect to Tom Brady again for making the man move or the MVP move. I get it. Tampa Bay is going to be a team to reckon with. But based on these moves, big data, I think it could be the dream matchup we're all waiting for. Yeah, I'm going to go out on a small limb and say, hey, New England, you guys just made yourselves relevant, and you guys might actually make the playoffs. And hell, once you're in the playoffs against Bill Belichick, good luck. Could you imagine Tom Brady versus his old team for the record-setting 8th Super Bowl, or Tom versus Bill for the – oh, man, I'm already excited.
Super Bowl,
this is what I'm talking
Super Bowl
about.
Picks
Data
before
versus
training
drama.
camp?
I am. And can I just say one thing? Hey, Jonnu, how does it feel to be the highest paid tight end of all time? Hey, Gronk, what does that feel like a little bit? Was that a little bit of FU money to Jonnu Smith? Talk about timing. That's all I'm going to say. And a little happy trails to our boy, Drew Brees. He finally announced his retirement. Drew, you're a super amazing player. We wish you well. And hey, Taysom Hill,
I love the funny money contract the Saints gave Taysom Hill. They gave him a fake 4-year, $140 million contract also. But it's really just for show, so they can save some salary cap money this year, because the Saints, as usual, somehow are way over the cap.
So, quick question: Do the accountants that used to work at Enron work for the New Orleans?
That's where they all went. They just went down the I-10 from Houston
funny money.
to
You're
New
right.
Orleans.
I really do think that the NFL should maybe possibly audit their books. Just take a quick look. I mean, I'm sure it's fine, but just
Maverick, I just want to one thing that it's going to go under the radar a little bit, but we talked about it quite a bit on the Super Bowl where, Kansas City had both their tackles out. Well, they weren't too happy about that. They cut both of these gentlemen. Schwartz and Fisher are gone.
Yeah.
And they gave some big money to, I believe his last name is Tooney. And so they've gotten a legit tackle back now. And we'll see if they find another gem at tackle. Watch out for those Chiefs.
Well, it's all about what have you done for me lately. And apparently Fisher, number 1 overall pick a couple years ago. Well, you missed the big game, my friend. But I'm not too worried. I'm pretty sure he'll find a home somewhere very soon. From there, ladies and gentlemen, it's time. Listen, you guys keep saying to yourself, Maverick, big data. Why do they call him the big data? This coming weekend is the reason that big data got his name. It's NCAA action. Driving the lane with big data, NCAA edition. Big data, take it away. This is your heaven. This is everything you want. Sir, I stand back. I'll jump in a little bit later. Go ahead. Tell everyone what they need to know about this.
Well, Maverick, that's right. It is the most wonderful time of year. On the sports calendar, this really is Christmas. It's March. It's March Madness. I've just had my eyeballs go sideways watching all these conference tournaments and everyone trying to get into the NCAA tournament and get their seeding. Let's go through each of the regions. I'm just going to let you know about the top 4 teams in each region. We're going to rate the regions from toughest to weakest. and we'll just give you a little hint of what's going on in each area. And generally the champ comes out of the top 4 seeds of each region. So these top 16 teams are generally going to be the ones who win. You have a wild card every once in a while. We had UConn with Kemba Walker was a 7 seed. Back in the day, Villanova, Providence, these teams were lower seeds, but generally your top 4 seeds are going to be the ones in the final 4. There's chaos in the first few rounds, but usually, the better teams, are able to pull through. Let's start with the toughest region so far, from what I can tell, is the East. Number 1 seed, Michigan Wolverines. They had a great season.
Yes.
They sputtered a tiny little bit. They lost a really tough game to Ohio State in the semifinal of the Big Ten championship. And unfortunately, they lost one of their best players, Isaiah Livers. Doesn't look like he's going to play. So Michigan got in as probably the last number 1 seed, which means they get the toughest number 2 seed, Alabama. Coach Nate Oates, in his second season at Alabama, has really turned these guys into a high-scoring machine. They won the SEC, and they're going to be a tough matchup in the East. 3rd seed, the Texas Longhorns. Shaka Smart off the hot seat to start the season. He delivered a really good Big 12 tournament championship team this year. They've got size, they've got shooters, they're tough, and they're going to be a problem for the East. And 4th seed is the runner-up in the ACC tournament, the Florida State Seminoles. Again, as usual, they play 11, 12 guys. They have a million awesome, tall, athletic players. They play their system, and they're just a really tough out. So I think the East is going to be the toughest region.
Quick question. So you're telling me Alabama's number 2 seed. So now we have to worry about Alabama in football and in
That's
basketball.
right.
Fantastic.
Next up,
sounds great. Okay.
I think the second toughest region is the Midwest. So the other Big Ten number 1 seed, the Big Ten tournament champions, the Fighting Illini of Illinois, great team. They actually in the rankings, they were the 3rd number 1 seed by the tournament committee. But the coaches actually had them number 2 overall at the end of the season. They've got a great scorer in Ayu Desamnu, a ferocious big man in Kofi Coburn, a few other really solid players. They're going to be a really so they got number 2 seed, Houston Cougars. We're going back like the Phi Slamma Jamma days here. Houston hasn't been good for a really long time. Excellent player in Quentin Grimes. They won the AAC championship, regular season, and the tournament. They're playing an exciting brand of basketball with Coach Kelvin Sampson. They're going to be tough to handle. 3rd seed, West Virginia Mountaineers. Really, they are a tough defensive team as usual, but not as defensive as we're used to. They've got a really good offense this year. Derek Culver is the big man in the middle. McBride's out there shooting threes. They got a really nice team. They seem to have a little issue pulling games out sometimes. They've lost some close ones, but again, a strong team. And their Big 12 brethren is the 4th seed, Oklahoma State Cowboys, with the projected number 1 NBA draft pick, Cade Cunningham, playing great. They should be the 3 seed, and West Virginia should be the 4 seed. I agree with ESPN's Joe Lunardi, the bracketologist. He said they've out Oklahoma State. They just had a better season than West Virginia, so they should have been at least the 3 seed there. In the end, they're probably in the same region, and they'll probably to figure it out.
Since when did Illinois have a basketball team? I'm just going to leave it there. I didn't realize this.
2005 national championship games, Darren Williams, the point guard, they were a good team back in the day. So then we're going to go to the what I think is the third easiest region. Hello, the West, the Gonzaga Bulldogs, undefeated, coming into the
Oh
tournament,
boy, here we
trying to
go.
make history. Who do the Zags have in their bracket? Well, number 2 is the Iowa Hawkeyes with Player of the Year Luca Garza, just a beast inside. They've got a really nice team. Bohannon's like their all-time assist leader. They can shoot it, so they're if they're hot, the Hawkeyes are a tough out. Number 3 seed, Big 12, Kansas. Now, Kansas has some problems. They had a bow out of the Big 12 tournament because of some COVID issues. Apparently, they are going to be able to field a team. We just don't know which of the players. That's a bit worrisome. And in the same boat, the Virginia Cavaliers, the defending national champions, again, they also had to withdraw from the ACC tournament due to COVID issues. Wolves on their team to start the tournament. I said the West is a little weaker. Why? Well, first of all, Kansas and Virginia have COVID problems. Secondly, unbelievably enough, the Zags have Iowa, Kansas, and Virginia in the non-conference season and beat all three of them pretty handily. So, pretty good draw for the Zags.
I'm not going to lie to you. It's a good thing you brought that up because I was a little worried about Zaga against Iowa. This Luca Garza guy is basically, oh, I don't know, Godzilla. That guy is a beast. So I was a little worried, but you tell me they beat him already?
And the
I'm going to believe you,
easiest
Big Data.
region, the last one left, the South, number 1 seed, Baylor Bears, Big 12 regular season champions, but ousted in the semifinals of the Big 12 tournament by Oklahoma State. Baylor's a fantastic team. They only lost 2 games the whole season. Super great defensive team, as well as the best three-point shooting team in the country, shooting over 40% as a team on the season. Really good team. Next up, an offensive powerhouse, runner-up in the Big Ten tournament, Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State, they've got an inside game, they've got an outside game, and they can score. Their defense is a little suspect, but they're an exciting team to watch. Number 3 seed in the South, the Bus is back. Eric Musselman. He's got the Arkansas Razorbacks playing some great basketball. They went on a pretty solid winning streak to end the season. They lost out in the semifinals of the SEC championship to LSU, but they've had a really good season. They're a high-scoring team, and the Muss has them going in the right direction. And finally, Purdue Boilermakers, number 4 seed. Big Ten was just strong. Purdue got bounced around pretty good in the Big Ten during the regular season. Solid team, but I think all in all, for Baylor in the South, those are 3 teams. They're not very defensive. They can score, but Baylor will be able to lock these teams down pretty easily.
Big Data, do you know what one of my favorite movies
yes, I
of all
do.
time is?
I believe it's The Water Boy.
It's true. However, the other one is Scarface. And in one of the scenes, he says, those that flash don't last. Hey, Ohio State, start playing some defense or you guys are going to go home early. Big Data, I have a friend that's a friend of a friend, who likes to bet a lot. And if I was to tell this friend about the 5 and the 12 seeds, let's talk about that real quick. Everyone talks about how the 5 and the 12 seeds are kind of those upset makers. That's where you make the real money. I'm going to go through all 4 scenarios of the 5-12 scenarios. And I want you to tell me, gun to your head, pretend it's your bookie, and you have to make the right call here. Tennessee, Oregon. Tennessee's the 5. Oregon State is the 12. Colorado as the 5. Georgetown as the 12. Villanova as the 5. Winthrop as the 12. 5 is Creighton. 12 is UC Santa Barbara. You can only pick one to put a couple of $100 on the game, maybe 1,000. Which one do you say is the guarantee upset special of the week?
If you turn on your TV and your internets, you're going to hear a lot that Winthrop is the favorite of the going against Villanova for the simple fact that Villanova's best player, senior point guard Gillespie, unfortunately he got hurt and he's out for the season. So Villanova is a fancy pick to go out, but that's not the big data pick, Maverick.
Okay, hold on. I have to cancel
So
this.
I'm going to go
Continue.
with
Yeah, sorry about that.
not many people in UC Santa Barbara play. Even I have only seen them play their last game, which was very good. And I'm going to say the Creighton Blue Jays, they just got smashed in the Big East Championship game by Georgetown. I mean, it was just a train wreck. I can't get over it. They lost by they lost by 25. I believe they were down way more than that during the game. Georgetown just rocked them. Won their conference. They won the regular season and the tournament. They've only lost one game all season. Winthrop is the choice.
Big Data's not wrong.
Oh, hold on 1 second. So, argument's sake, like $100, $500, like what if you were like hypothetically speaking, if you had to put a money on it, how much would you put on that?
0.0023 of a
UC
Bitcoin,
Santa
I think is
Barbara.
what you should.
Beautiful. Wow, really? That's
But
actually pretty good.
let's
Hold
tell the
on, my
viewers
friend.
though.
Trying to work that out.
In
All right.
recent memory, everyone talks about the 5-12 matchup as the one that they single out. I'm going to give you some stats here, Maverick. So the 4 seed against the 13 seed all time. Now all these are out of 140 total games because that's how many tournament games we've had in these in the first round. So the score is 119 wins for the 4 seed, 21 wins for the 13 seed. So the 4 seed's been pretty dominant. And then let's go to the 7 seed versus the 11 seed. The 7 seed has won 85 and lost 55 times against the 11 seed. The 6 seed has won 88 times and lost 52 times to the 11 seed. So, it was 7-10, 6-11. My apologies. So you can see those are pretty even. And you're like, okay, well now, the 4 seeds are super dominant. 6 and 7 seeds are kind of the same. Well, the 5 seed should be really poor against the 12 seed because we see them lose all the time. Not the case. 90 wins for the 5 seed.
Right.
50.
Not the case.
The 12 seed. So
90,
it really, there's a big drop off between the 4 and the 5 seeds, as we talked about earlier. But 5, 6, and 7, the winning percentages are pretty close. I think we have some recent bias on the 5 seed there, Maverick.
Oh, fantastic. So the money I just put down is now
just like Bitcoin. Now sometimes it craters.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Big Data. Wow.
Take that for data.
Wow. Thank you. All right, listen. From there, we go to every year there's that team. Who is a potential Cinderella to make it far into the tournament? Every year there's that one team, or at least we cheer for a Cinderella. Let's call it what it is. We all love the underdog. Big Data, I'm going to give you mine, and then I want to hear yours. You ready? I got one, and a lot of people are going to say, well, Maverick, is that really a Cinderella? But I truly believe it is. It's the University of Houston. They're the number 2 seed. I know people are like, what? They're the 2. But it's the University of Houston. We're talking about a school that really doesn't get a lot of love. They just don't. And yes, they're creeping in. They can score. They can do a lot of stuff. They're on a 7-game winning streak. I did a little research on these guys. Quentin Grimes, Marcus Sasser, Dejan Jarreau. This team is legit, man. I think these guys are going to catch a little fire, and I'm putting a little extra money to catch my 5-12 bet that apparently will not now go through because of you. I'm going to go a little heavy on Houston, man. I think that there's something there for a Cinderella. I know
you're going to get some solid odds.
But I'm going to take them as a Cinderella. They're going to go for
Vegas will go against Houston. It's a solid move. I'm going to give the listeners a real underdog. No 2 seed here, Maverick. I'm going to give them the number 13 seed in the South, North Texas. They are a solid solid crew.
Texas.
I watched them in their championship game against Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky has a fellow named Charles Bassey, who is an NBA center in the making. And Bassey had offers at all the big schools.
All right.
And he chose Western Kentucky for various reasons. And, everyone thought Western Kentucky would dominate the conference. Well, these North Texas guys, I mean, they played their hearts out, and they were able to beat Bassey and Western Kentucky and, win their conference. And now they're playing Purdue in the South. Keep your eye on the gentleman from North Texas,
Wow.
13 seeded.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a little something. I'm going to put a little extra money on Northern Texas as well. Why? Because big data, this, ladies and gentlemen, you guys might think I joke a lot or whatever. This is his heaven. This is what he lives for. You don't understand. In the United States where they say, in our hometowns, they say the two most unproductive days are the Thursday and the Friday of the NCAA tournament. Big data is the main reason why. He doesn't go to work, and he tells all his friends not to go to work, and this is why we have a recession in our country. This is legitimately, follow this guy. He knows what he's talking about when it comes to this. I highly, highly recommend taking his advice. Watch what happens. You'll see.
All in
very
all,
quickly. I'm excited.
Enjoy the madness, everybody.
Yeah, it's the greatest time of the year. The most wonderful time of the year, as you like to call it. Exactly. From there, big data, let's get to the great debate. Okay, let's stay on the basketball front. Okay, last year, COVID reared its ugly head.
Great.
Hey, by the way, happy COVID. It's 1 year exactly today. All right? Hey, way to go. Yeah. So happy COVID to everyone out there. With that being said, the NBA, when they first decided to come back, one of the things they wanted to do was redo their playoff format to go, all right, East, West, COVID's messing everything up. What about the idea of the top 16 teams? No East or West, just top 16 teams that make it going. They ended up not doing that, but with the NCAA doing such an amazing thing, I mean, this truly is the greatest tournament ever put together of all time. What if the NBA said, hey, screw the East, screw the West, let's just take the top 16 teams as they lay from your win percentage and lay them all in and make it a tournament? Would you like to see the NBA incorporate a top 16, a sweet 16,
absolutely,
for their playoff?
I think the only drawback, and I know they've talked about it quite a bit, so there's the owners, they're like, well, I want my regional faux, regional rival to be in the playoffs every year. And I think it gets kind of stale after a while. What I would say is, if they can figure out the travel, if you're doing Portland, Miami, 7-game series, and you're flying back and forth all the time, it's probably not the best thing, but they can figure that out.
Right.
I would love to see it even more college style, with a big stadium, and they do like a 3-game series in one stadium or something would be awesome. But I think the way basketball is, the styles and just how many stars there are in the league now, if you went 1 through 16 and you got rid of some of those worst teams, because you always have a couple good teams that don't make the playoffs, because usually the West is stronger than the East, and you have some bad teams in the East make it usually. Eliminating the bad, getting more good teams, having more stars in the playoffs, it's the only way to go. Come on, NBA, fix this up.
Big data, for once we're going to agree. I couldn't agree more. And here's my backup to everything you just said. Guess who changed it up last year? It was the NHL. They changed it up. They added a few more teams. The MLB, baseball, they changed it up. It worked extraordinarily well for them as well. And the NFL added a team this year that's going to stick. And it was probably one of the best playoff formats I've seen ever. So, hey, NBA, get in line, get it changed. It's time. And you know what? You never want to be the little brother. The little brother's teaching the big brother something. take advantage of it. Do it for 1 year. See what happens. And yeah, okay, fine. There might be one series that's a little weird and the travel might be, a little long or whatever. Who cares? It's for the fans. At the end of the day, I 100% would love to see the top 16 teams make it, because let's call it what it is. You look at the East and you're like, man, there's some teams here that really should never have made the playoffs, and they wouldn't make the playoffs, and they shouldn't make the playoffs. And this format would make it that so. Big Data, the Maverick, we are right. Boom, there it is. The great debate this week.
Something really amazing on the way.
You know what? I think that, the CEO is kind of like Disneyland. He makes dreams come true. I feel like something's in the horizon. Listen up next week, because there's a big surprise on the horizon. And I do mean big.
Part of the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Yeah, seriously. There it is, everyone. It's the Full Spectrum Podcast. At you one more time. Big Data, thanks for all the analysis. I got to go to my, I got to be honest, I got to hit the internet and I got to make a few bets. I got to call a couple of people. I'm going to be a millionaire by the end of this weekend. So I thank you for that.
The Full Spectrum Podcast, presented by Champions and Legends. Champions and Legends produces hemp-derived CBD sports supplements for athletic preparation, performance, and recovery. Discover Champions and Legends on the World Wide Web at championsandlegends.com.